Paisanos, welcome back to another episode of Calcio Culture. On today's episode, we're going to be talking AS Roma and their new appointment in Gian Piero Gasperini. One of the bigger news of the summer. Huge moment for the club, big transition phase. We're really excited about next season, and today we're kind of going to be breaking down what's going on at Roma, what we think this is going to look like next season, and kind of what we can expect under Gasperini and what the club is going to look like. But yeah, this is a really exciting one, Mats. How are you feeling about it?
I'm excited. Had a similar excitement to Roma last year as I do this year. Obviously, it took them a little bit to figure it out and put everything together. They were able to do that, and we saw how strong of a team they were and how good they were when they were able to do that. And getting Gasperini early on, letting him have the whole summer to kind of implement his system, should give them enough time to continue where they left off this season and hit the ground running. And we all know what Roma did when they clicked last year. So I'm excited for this team. They're going to be a dangerous side, especially with this appointment of Gasperini. So very excited.
Yeah, and a big evolution for the club. Again, just starting this summer, we've got a new logo. We have a new
What do you think about the logo?
Don't change it. It was fine how it was. It's fine. Like, it was unnecessary. I think they probably spent a lot of money getting a new logo. It's just a waste of time for everybody, I
Yeah,
think.
it's pretty similar to what they have
Yeah,
too.
it's the
It's
same
just
thing,
like
just different colors. So they don't need it, but still, new evolution. So we got a new logo, a new executive consultant, former manager Claudio Ranieri is now a consultant for the club. Just snubbed the Italy job, so he can be 100% focused on Roma. New coach in Gasperini, and then as of yesterday, new sporting director Frederic Massara, former Milan executive. He was in that sporting director kind of role with Paolo Maldini at AC Milan when they won the Scudetto. Really talked about highly executive in Italy. This was a really big one for them to get done. And it looks like on the back of this, they're going to start making some noise in the Mercato. They're probably waiting to get something like this done before that started.
Yeah, listen, whatever Ranieri says at this point, I don't see how anyone can argue, go against, and not just be okay with it. I think he came out of retirement for this club. This is his love. He loves this club, and he knows he wants to leave it in a better position than where he found it. He said that multiple times. He's staying on the board to continue to do that. And immediately after he gives up his position, he appoints a great new manager that's going to do exactly what I just said, kind of take the next step, and a great sporting director who has been in this league, been around, and has won. So Ranieri this man is a smart man.
Yeah, very smart man. People forget he won the league with Leicester City, so he has to know something. He has to be doing something right. But again, the bulk of today's episode is talking about Gasperini. And last week, me and Logs recorded. I kind of said my thoughts. I was a little bit worried about the appointment just because of how Gasperini plays. High risk, high reward kind of football. A lot of goals conceded, albeit it was better last season. That was my initial reaction. What were your initial thoughts?
My initial thoughts for Roma was this is a great appointment. You know what you get with Gasperini. He is going to play attacking style on the front foot football, man marking press at all times. And the beautiful part about this is, in my opinion, is Roma are a bigger club than Atalanta. And I don't want to throw shade on Roma at all here, but they're less big, obviously, than Juventus and Inter in terms of the players they bring in. And we know Gasperini, that's his biggest thing that he has, right? Is he clashes with big egos. Now, Roma players have egos, but I don't think they're at the level of where it would clash. So I can see this really working out for them. Also, Roma are a step away from being a Champions League level team for the next 4, 5, 6 years and competing for the Scudetto. This is the man that can clearly take that step for you, as we saw him do with Atalanta when nobody saw that coming, right? Atalanta wasn't necessarily a step away, and Gasperini just got them there. Roma are much more in advance than where Atalanta was when Gasperini went there, and now Gasperini is going to take them across the finish line, and who knows, win trophies, potentially go deep in Europe, win the Scudetto. So I think this was a great appointment. People wanted him. Juventus went after him. He said in his press conference when Roma appointed him that Juventus wanted him, and this one just felt more right. So they beat Juventus to the punch there, and I'm excited for this appointment. I think Roma fans will be okay to let in maybe a few more goals if that means they're scoring a ton more goals. That's kind of like what the De Rossi system was when he was the caretaker at the end of 2 seasons ago, and they were totally fine with it because they were scoring 4 or 5 goals a game. So I love this appointment. I'm excited for Roma. I think Gasperini can really help them take the next step, and I think that he will help them make the next step.
One of the interesting points you made is that Roma's kind of like they're kind of a step down from the Inter Milan, Juventus, AC Milan in terms of profile and recruitment. So I'll be interested to see because they're going to be able to recruit players that are almost at that stage, but can recruit better than Atalanta. So he's going to be getting better players, but what he's always done so well is develop players. So when you're getting guys that are already better, I'm just interested in what he can see with that squad. Like, how does a Gasperini system do with players that are presumably already better than what he's already had? And how much can he develop those guys? Like, including, like, what are we going to see from Baldanzi and Pizzilli now next season? Are they going to hit a new level that we haven't seen yet?
Sule.
Like, I would probably, Dovbyk, like, you can go through the whole team. It's like, there are a lot of guys there that aren't at their ceiling yet. And Gasperini's very good at getting players to that level. So we could see a very dangerous team very quickly. And I'm just interested to see how he does that with some players that everybody kind of agrees are better than what he had at Atalanta. And there were so many players that went to Atalanta that weren't that good. And now we talk about them as like, oh my God, these guys are so good.
Or that were flops that went to Atalanta, and Gasperini was able to. They had a great year or two somewhere else. They made a big move, didn't work out, and then they went to Atalanta. And Gasperini made them to their old form again. Roma, like they have some players that kind of last year fell out of form. Pellegrini, Cristante being some. So you think, hey, maybe Gasperini can not only get those to their peak forms that we've seen before, but also, like you mentioned, the young players that they have to improve as well. And the beautiful part about this is they're not changing a whole lot in terms of formation. They were playing a 3-4-2-1 last year, or some iteration of that. They obviously, Ranieri probably did the most, maybe besides Conte, of changing up formation when it was needed for Roma. But for the most part, they lined up in their 3-4-2-1, which is exactly what Gasperini plays. They definitely played a more defensive aspect of it than Gasperini, but it's not going to be like, hey, this is a totally new system, totally new position. For a lot of these guys, they're going to know the position and the formation and so on and so forth for a lot of them.
Yeah, just to kind of talk quickly about Gasperini and how he plays for people that don't know. Like Mott said, it's a 3-4-2-1 or 3-5-2, whatever you want to call it. And kind of the Gasperini thing. Like, what is his thing? Man marking, high pressure, attack heavily. Like, everybody attacks, which is why sometimes they did get exposed on the other end of the field. But we're looking at 2 number 8s in the midfield, wide wingbacks. They're going to play a lot of balls into the box, should help Dovbyk. And then a front 3 that is very fluid with kind of like a pure number 9 up there. We saw it with Retegui, with Scamacca, with the kind of creative players underneath him. At Atlanta last year, it was, I'm spacing out, Lookman, CDK, Pasalic, kind of to help that pure number 9. So in terms of like the roster, they actually, to your point, like they already played kind of the system and they already have the guys. It's just a matter of who is Gasperini going to pick to play in what position? What is his day one starting 11 going to be? And we're all months away. We have an entire mercato. But the immediate question for me is we're looking at that front 3, essentially like 2 inside forwards with Dove. I mean, there's no way Dovbyk isn't the number 9 to start the season. I would be very surprised if that didn't happen. But the conundrum and the puzzle for me that De Rossi had and Juric had and Ranieri kind of missed out on because of injury. How do you get Dybala and Sule in the team? Because presumably your best 3 forwards are Dybala, Sule, and Dovbyk is going to play. And does he play both Dybala and Sule? And if he does, can he do what everybody else couldn't do? And Ranieri did not have this puzzle because Dybala got hurt and then missed out, and Sule kind of stepped in that position. But that's my immediate question. Does he even try to do that? Does he go with something else? That's kind of my thought.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I mean, I think you have to play the most informed guys. So to start, he might try them both on on the pitch, see how it works out. We've seen Sule struggle playing off the left. We've seen Dybala struggle playing off the left when he tried to do it at Juve. He very much is comfortable in the 10 space to the right wing, right attacking inside forward space. Same with Sule. So it's going to be extremely tough to work both of them in. But you do have somewhat of the luxury of Dybala being an older player. So you can potentially talk with him. You have 3 competitions, so you're going to have a lot of games, but you can talk with him to tell him, like, we want to save you for the European games and the big Serie A games. Because the last thing you want to do if you're Gasperini and if you're Roma is not play Sule enough to where he can't reach his ceiling. Because Sule's ceiling is a 50, 60, 75 million dollar player, and it could be even more. But if you don't play him in his best position, you block the development there. And Dybala, as he's a world-class talent, as we all know, he's at the end of his career and isn't going to get any better. So it's going to be a puzzle. I think Gasperini will try to play them together at some points. He's going to have to not at some points as well. But we'll see how he does with it. Because as you mentioned, everybody did struggle in terms of De Rossi and Juric beforehand in terms of that puzzle. But one thing I wanted to ask you is about Dovbyk, right? We've seen Gasperini take a Scamacca and take a 9 or 7 goal last season, Retegui, and turn them into potential Golden Boot and Golden Boot winners. Dovbyk, a guy who scored 14, 15 goals last season in a Gasperini system, what do you think he can do next season?
Golden Boot. I will, if I can bet on Golden Boot, I will. He is a better soccer player than Retegui and Scamacca, in my opinion. I mean, you can debate that. I can heavily defend that, I think. I think what happened last year is they didn't really play to Dovbyk's strength. And it took him a while a lot of those goals came in the second half of the season when the whole team started playing better. But my guess is that Gasperini isn't really going to change the way that he wants to play. And now you have Angelino, who's presumably staying, and Divine Wrench, who is also going to be staying, presumably starting right wing back. And their job is going to be cross the ball. Cross the ball every opportunity you get to do so. And Dovbyk is going to be the guy whose job it is to put those away. And that's why Retegui scored so many goals last year. He got so many opportunities and so much service. And we see when you have a number 9 who's capable of just being that ruthless finisher, then what happens? They score a million goals. And I think Dovbyk has better physical traits than Retegui to finish off those crosses. And I would say he's probably even a better pure finisher than Retegui. Retegui's still very raw. And I think Dovbyk's game is raw in a lot of ways. But they asked him to do a lot last year. A lot of back-to-basket play, a lot of counterattacking, a lot of things. Retegui at Atalanta did not have a lot to do. He had quick hold-up, which he was very good at, but he always had support. Dovbyk was on an island for so much of last season that he had to come deep and then hold play, wait for people to get to him. And this is going to be completely different. Your number 1 job is going to be putting balls in the net, and you are going to be given the opportunity to do so. The whole thing with Atalanta last year was every single game, they created a ton of chances. They only lost games because randomly they just wouldn't score goals, and it didn't really make sense. They missed a lot of good chances. With how many goals Retegui scored last year, he probably should have scored more. And there was a lot of games where he did miss. And for me, I think Dovbyk is going to put away more chances than Retegui did, which is why I think this is going to work and he's going to win the Golden Boot.
Agreed. I think Dovbyk's going to be scary, and I think Sule can be scary, and a lot of Dybala can be scary as well. But very well said. I agree.
Yeah, the other beneficiary I think in this kind of front 3 is Pellegrini. I think Pellegrini, there is going to be rotation because Dybala is going to get hurt at some point, and he's older, and I think that they're going to be very aware of that. And a lot of people tend to get hurt under Gasperini separately from that. I could see a very interesting formation is in the games where you're resting Sule, playing Pellegrini under Dybala and Dovbyk as kind of like your 2 9s. That would be interesting because I think it would give Pellegrini the space he needs. And Gasperini has always been good at getting the best out of the players that he has and playing into their best trait. So I think he is a tremendous beneficiary of this. I think he's also a beneficiary of 3 important competitions. Roma should absolutely be looking to win the Europa League and win the Coppa Italia this year. And with that, in the more games you're playing, more people are going to have opportunity. Pellegrini was obviously I would deem a loser of last season, where there are a lot of players that were winners of last season. With a new manager, you're going to have an opportunity to show your case. This is a guy that has a lot on the line now. He's pretty much out of the national team setup. Gattuso just came in. So you're now proving new manager at the club level and then trying to break back into the national team ahead of a World Cup. I think we all think he's capable of doing that. The other guy I would kind of liken to him is Coop Miners. I think Coop Miners under Gasperini at Atalanta was better than Pellegrini's ever been. But who's to say that Gasperini doesn't elevate Pellegrini to that level this season? He's probably the best attack-minded midfielder this team does have historically. He's been a part of this team for a long time. So that's one that I am pulling out as somebody to maybe watch to see what he can do. Because if you can get a good Pellegrini into this team, that's big. Because he can also play off the left, which they don't really have a great off the left kind of guy.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say this is his best position, right? Yeah. I know when Mourinho tried to utilize him in a two-man midfield, it's not Pellegrini's best position. His best position is inside forward, number 10, shading towards the left. So he can definitely see his form go back, kind of turn the years back, as we've seen Gasperini do that for countless players. So very looking forward to see what Gasperini can get out of Pellegrini.
Yeah, and then the other thing that I want to talk about, and again, we have several months to go, so there could be some new additions, is that two-man midfield. Because for me, the two-man midfield is something that's really hard to get right. I say a lot of times that I don't love it. But at Atalanta, Gasperini got this right so many times. His two-man midfield, I mean, the guy that you have to talk about is Ederson, what he was able to do with Ederson, and then whoever his partner was, Martin Darun, Toon Coop Miners. This is going to be the key piece of this team. And if he can't get this right, they're going to struggle. I think 100% the new Ederson in my mind is Manu Kone, and he is probably a better technical player than Ederson. The question is, what is he going to be able to do in this two-man midfield? Because it is a difficult job. But this is a very, very good player that I think we're both really excited to watch under Gasperini. He's going to be a key player. But the question is, who is he going to play alongside him? Because there were a lot of guys that played last year. Paredes is leaving. So now you're talking about a midfield crew that's like Brian Cristante, Pellegrini, potentially. We don't think that would be his best position. But then you've got like Pizzilli, who had a great season and now is having a great U21 Euros, who could potentially be the beneficiary there. So that's just a piece that I'm watching going into next season, because it's Manu Kone, and then who? Are they going to sign somebody? Is it going to be in-house? And that's something that you need rotators there too, because you cover a ton of ground in a two-man midfield, and you're going to play a lot of games this year.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Kone, for me, is going to take a next step. I thought he had a shout for team of this season for the Serie A. I do agree he has kind of tactically better play than Ederson. He doesn't cover as much ground and maybe less of a ball winner in the midfield, but I think he is actually a better pure passer than Ederson. So Gasperini is going to have to find a running mate to Mane Kone, but we've seen Gasperini be able to kind of plug anybody in next to Ederson and at Atalanta and get the best out of them. So there's nothing to me that shows why Gasperini wouldn't be able to find a guy and make the most out of him, whether it's Cristante, whether it's going to get someone on the Mercado. Whoever they get, I have very much faith in Gasperini to figure out how to make it work. But then there is a part of me that does think like there's going to be some growing pains here, right?
Yeah.
There kind of has to be. Like, we're talking about this, how the way we're talking about this for the first
it can only go right.
Roma's going to win the league.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's a good point. It's a hard system to play in. It's not.
And Gasperini himself said the best result would be to qualify for Champions League. Like, I understand that's Gasperini doing his job to not set the expectations too high and let the Italian media that reports every single minute of every single day that Roma should win the league. He's trying to lower the bar, so if he does overachieve, it looks better. I do think that for me, their minimum bar is to qualify for the Champions League, not their best result, in my opinion. I understand what he's doing, but he said it himself. Like it's obviously not going to be a walk in the park.
I mean, and that's another question that I have is the concern about Gasperini, right, is the bad parts of Gasperini. Like Gasperini system concede a lot of goals, very attractive to watch, but you get run out of some games. He said a lot of bad stuff last year. We talked about it so much. Is he ready for a club like this? Is he the right fit? Because that mentality for me is not good enough. Because at the beginning of last season, the three of us were on here saying Roma are top 3 contenders last year, and they are probably better now than they were then. And for me, there's no reason that they can't win the Scudetto. I think they're better than Napoli. I mean, off of like just pure 11, they have better players, in my opinion. So
maybe not at the end of Mercado.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
But to come out and say before the season starts that we can't win the Serie A, that it's a little bit bad for me because this is bringing me back to Gasperini last year and the mindset that he has. Does he really have the mindset of big club mentality, win every competition, or is it just try to be good enough every year? Because this isn't Atalanta. It is different. Like Roma is not the biggest club in the world, yes. But they're like one of those, they kind of teeter at all points of being there. So it isn't the same as Atalanta. I think expectations are going to be higher. And if they don't make the Champions League, I would consider it a failure as of right now. There's so much that's going to happen in the summer.
If they don't make the Champions League, I would agree it's considered a failure. But this is, to me, I understand 100% where you're coming from. The Gasperini mindset in terms of, is he about winning all 3 competitions? He's only ever won 1 trophy, the Europa League 2 seasons ago. But to me, this is more just a cat and mouse game for Gasperini to set expectations for the media and to Roma fans. Like, listen, I've had a lot of success at Atalanta, overachieved, right? You've got great players. You went 18 games unbeaten. You would have won the league if it started in December. I think that's just him trying to not set expectations too high and then under deliver. It's a normal tactic. Allegri did it a lot with his Juventus 2.0. Allegri would constantly be in the media saying, listen, our goal every year is Champions League. We're no longer Scudetto, but being the club of Juventus, the fans want Scudetto or bust. So I think it's just more so a game rather than reflecting his mindset. But I totally agree with you. Like maybe that is his mindset sometimes, and it comes off that way because there is a reason why Atalanta only won 1 trophy, even though they've overachieved tremendously. And obviously he does have his faults, Gasperini, but I will say that was most of his faults we saw at the Atalanta stint in his 8th year at the end of it. So that's a long time to be managing a club. I will say though, they did meet Atalanta Gasperini in the summer and he committed to them on staying. They invested like 100 mil on the Mercado to try to get him to stay, and then he still threw a fit. So there's an aspect to him. He's old. He's stuck in his ways. It could go sideways, but like I mentioned, the Roma players are great. They're very good, solid players. Not many of them have high egos, and we know that's what Gasperini struggles with, like when Lookman, when he was just shitting on Lookman in the press. So you know what you get with Gasperini, right? He's a prickly guy, but he comes with a great style of football, scoring goals, and he does get you results, and he does overachieve.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's a prickly guy, but he does get results. And 2 guys that he's going to have familiarity with, Brian Cristante, who did play for him at Atalanta, 12 goals there, so that's something to watch. And then Mancini also had him, so I would expect that's a good guy to have a relationship with. Has been at the club for so long, kind of like the alternate captain. Or no, is Pellegrini the captain?
No, Pellegrini, yeah. But yeah. Pellegrini was the captain, however, maybe not after these past year falling out. But like those Cristante and Mancini are 2 of the maybe 4 pillars of Roma over the last 5-6 years, right? And he's got a great relationship with both of them.
Yeah, so there's a lot to be done this summer. We fully expect them to bring in some players. I'm not sure they need to break the bank because they do have they pretty much have a team set. But we're going to be watching what they do now. Again, with the new appointment of Massara, we expect that Mercato to start amping up and really start making some moves there.
I think we would expect the Mercato to start for just Italian clubs in general, besides Napoli, any time now, like any day now.
Yeah.
A lot of like Milan, Roma, Juventus, they were appointing sporting director, so that was obviously the job one. But no one's done anything besides Napoli, a little bit of Inter, and you got teams all around just making business happen. So Serie A's got to get on their horse there.
Yeah, but they have been in the news as of late. A couple of things. Milas Svilar is very close to a new deal. That's an important one because he was linked to Milan. He was linked to the Premier League. So if they get that one done, that's important. Really, that one's not done yet, but it seems like it should happen the next couple of days. The other thing was Angelino had looked like he was going to Al Hilal, but apparently that was all fake news and none of that actually happened. So he appears to be staying, which is big.
Huge.
This
is Angelino is a guy that can get 9, 10, 11 assists under Gasperini. He had a great season last year, and we've seen Gasperini, the positions that excel under his system, wingbacks, strikers, and probably like center mids.
Yeah.
It's a defense that really takes a step back because he's so aggressive. But Angelino could have easily been in the team this season. This year had a great season and could get even better next season under Gasperini.
Yeah, I think Angelino
that they kept him.
I think he's probably the best technical left wing back Gasperini's ever had. Robin Gosens very good. I think Angelino is actually better though. So this is a really good one.
I would also say, sorry to keep cutting you off. When I saw these reports, my mind was blown. The fee was like 22 million. I was like, why are they?
Yeah.
How is that even being entertained? I know he's slightly on the older side, but he's not even 30. I was shocked when I saw that coming off the season he had, but then he came out and was like, it's all a lie. So that's good for Roma.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally like a top four, one of their best 4 players on the team. Absolutely have to keep him. A couple other things that happened. Enzo Lefebvre has left for 22 million. I think he went to Premier League. Did he go to Brighton?
Southampton.
Yeah. So that was a failed experiment, not the end of the world. Didn't really see anything from him last year. Leandro Paredes is off to Boca Juniors. And then a couple other rumors that were swirling. Very worrying. One of them, Evan Ndika. Apparently Arsenal is in on him. That one is scary. I would be disappointed if he does leave. I think it would be very bad for Roma if he does leave. Him and Angelino were probably the 2 best players on the team last year, and Svilar separately. That one I hope doesn't happen. They got to keep him.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if he does go, it'd probably be for a big fee, so they would have made some money. But at the end of the day, you need to keep him. He was, in my opinion, one of the best, probably the 3rd best center back in the entire league last year. Also, Arsenal, you don't
need him.
You have 3 center backs already. You don't need a 4th, and they play a 4-back, so it doesn't make sense. Roma got to keep him.
And on the back of this, at the center back position, they're also linked to Lukumi. And I don't know if this was because of Ndika possibly leaving or not. We both agree, regardless, they should get Lukumi if they can. That would really solidify the defense as a back 3 that Gasperini is potentially going to play. Last year, we saw Zelki Celik play as the right center back, which if we were going to improve in one position, that would be one of them. And if you go back 3 next season of Evan Ndika, Mancini, and Lukumi,
that's very
you're
solid.
Maybe the best in the league.
Yeah, I mean, and Lukumi with the ball on his feet is so underrated. I don't think Lukumi, unfortunately, is going to be on Bologna next year. Whoever gets him is getting a bargain for 28 million. It's only active until July 10th, so if you want to get him for 28 million, you got to act fast. But great player and is definitely ready for the next step in his career to play European football consistently. Although Bologna has been able to do that, so maybe he ends up staying.
I mean, I genuinely think if they only signed Lukumi this summer, it would be a successful season, like a successful summer for me.
And they keep all their current
players. They keep everybody else, yeah. I don't think that would be crazy, and that would be a massive. And again, steal for 28 mil. The last rumor we just want to talk about, it's hard to say if it's true or not. I have seen a lot of things on Twitter. Mats, you might know better than me if it actually has legs or not.
I think it has no legs. What we're referring to is apparently Juventus called Dybala over like the past couple of days, and Dybala has major interest in rejoining Juventus. And I guess he removed Roma from his Instagram bio. But Luca Mamblano is the person who reported that. Whatever he says about Juventus's Mercado typically turns out to be false. So I don't know if there's any legs to it. I'd be hyped if Juventus can get Dybala for 12 million. Although it would be classic Juve. But so yeah, it's really, really tough to know if this is true or not. But there are links to Dybala leaving Roma to go to Juve for 12 million because he has a release clause.
Yeah, and that's it. On this podcast, we don't really like to talk on rumors because there's so much out there. If it does happen, we'll talk about it when it does happen, but I don't really want to get into it right now.
Agreed.
All right, cool. Well, that's all we had. We want to just hop out here. It gives you guys a quick preview of Gasperini. We're going to be doing a couple of other these. We had some other big appointments in Maximiliano Allegri. We've got Pioli back in the league. So we're going to be doing this all summer, talking new teams, and then any transfer news that we have, we're going to keep hopping on and give you guys content all summer.
Yes, if you are still listening, Paisanos, please like, follow, subscribe, comment, send the podcast to other people. It really helps us grow. We appreciate your support. Do not be a gagoots, and Forza Calcio Culture.